5K SnipeAthon is a public trading journey where I'm going to grow $5,000 of my own money to $10,000 trading currency in the foreign exchange market. This is a completely public and transparent trading journey where I give daily and weekly updates of the progress. If you want to follow and stay up to date on this trading journey, make sure you hit like, subscribe, turn the notifications on, and look in the comments to join the Snipers Anonymous broadcast where I update the chat daily on the progress of the account. Peace and blessings, Akeem and Akayo. Welcome back to the SnipeAthon. And without further ado, here is the update for week 4. So last week we had a starting balance of $4,968 and $4,968.45, and we ended the week with $4,977.27. So we had a little increase there, but we've been in a little bit of consolidation as far as the wins and the losses. So as you can see, for the wins and the losses, last week I took a total of 7 trades. Won 5, lost 2. So we had a win rate of 71%, and open trades running right now are none. So there's no open profit or open loss. And the net loss so far for this account has been negative $22.73. And that's a net loss percentage of 0.45, or basically 0.5%. The notes that I had this week are: fear is not an emotion, right? Fear is not an emotion. And I'm going to get into that after we go over news and after we go over the charts. I'm going to explain where this note came from, and we're actually going to get a little bit into the word tonight. This week's focus: stay out of the range. So if you guys notice, anybody who trades EU or GU, the price has really been ranging. If you've been looking at it over the past couple weeks, it could look like it was headed in a direction, but as we can see, it's starting to range, and that's what we're going to go over on the charts tonight. So staying out of the range and waiting for breakouts. So the next thing that we're going to go over is news. Give me a quick second to bring this up. Remove this. So it's always important for us to go over the news, right? It's important to get a forecast of the upcoming week because timing is everything in trading. And if we can see where we're at in the market as far as where price is at right now, a lot of times the better you get at trading, some of you are already experienced. You know that you can kind of time and predict when things are going to happen or when the market is going to start moving based on when volatility is going to be provided to the market. And before I continue, I just want to make sure everybody can hear me. I never do a sound check before. I'll be so excited to start the call. Can everybody drop a 1 in the chat if you can hear me? Jesus loves you. I believe that's Joe, right? That's Joe, right? What's going on, family? Welcome, Mishpaka. If you can hear me, drop a 1 in the chat. Okay, thank you. Thank you, John. Yeah, so what I was saying about news is it's important because sometimes you can predict when volatility is going to be entered into the market. And some of the students, some of you guys that have been with me for a while, you know that we don't look at news for direction. That's not why we look at news. We don't look at news to try to guess what direction is going to push the market, right? We look at news to know when volatility is going to be added to the market because we know that the markets are manipulated. We know that the markets are rigged. And so we're always looking for areas of liquidity to be swept, which is what volatility provides. So let's go ahead and look at what we have for the upcoming week as far as news. Monday has already passed, and we are on. Hold on, I'm on the wrong screen. Here we go. So Monday has already passed, and we're on Tuesday. As far as the euro goes, let's see, we have a balance of trade. So that's a red folder. That's a red folder news release that's going to be at 3 a.m. this morning. And so I'm going to take that into account as I'm analyzing EU tonight, because I'm expecting volatility to enter the market around 3 o'clock. Maybe that's a pullback that I could predict, and maybe that's where I enter in for a buy or a sell. But we'll be looking at the market in a second. And then at 8 in the morning, we have unemployment or employment changes, existing home sales, and those are all red folder news for the United States dollar. Now, remember, the United States dollar is important to look at because anything that's paired against the United States dollar, that's going to affect that pair. Wednesday, again at 4 o'clock in the morning, we have retail sales for euro, and then we have Godano's speech. And at 8:30 in the morning, inflation rates, that's going to be a big one for the dollar, along with CPI, core inflation rates. So they're going to be talking about inflation rates on Wednesday. So at 8:30 in the morning on Wednesday, just kind of, notate that down on Wednesday. Just kind of be on the lookout for volatility to enter the market. Thursday, we have initial jobless claims on at 8:30 in the morning, and that's red folder. That is a red folder news release. And see, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Everything at 9:30. We got orange folder news, which is medium impact, and then we have red folder news, which is high impact. And we have a lot going on at 8:30 in the morning, all at the same time on Thursday. So more than likely, that's going to be a very volatile morning. So Thursday, I'm really going to bookmark that day. I'm going to be expecting a lot of volatility at 8:30 in the morning on Thursday. And then Friday, see, the pound has some red folder news at 3 o'clock in the morning. So the goods trades balance, and that's all at 3 o'clock. And let's see, later in the day, again at 8:30 on Friday, the United States dollar, they're going to be doing durable goods, then the GDP growth rate, core price index, personal income, personal spending. Again, all of this is at 8:30. And then at 10 o'clock, they have the JOLTS job openings and the Michigan consumer sentiment. So that is the outlook. That is the outlook for the week as far as news goes. Let me check the chat. Yeah, welcome to the call, everybody that's just now coming in. So we just went over news, and now we're about to get into some analysis. If there's anything you guys want me to look over outside of the euro versus the dollar and the pound versus the dollar, go ahead and drop that in the chat. I'll check it, and we'll get into it. But how's everybody's week? How was everybody's weekend? How was everybody's Shabbat? I pray it was peaceful and restful. If you don't recognize Shabbat, how was your weekend? Go ahead, let me know in the chats. Let's see. All right, give me a quick second to bring this up. All right, here we go. So we're going to analyze the dollar first. Let me get this screen together. I want this full view this week. So we're going to go over the dollar first. Before we get into anything, let's go ahead and get our bias on the dollar. So here's what I believe about the dollar currently, right now. Overall, higher time frame, if we're looking at the daily and the weekly, we know that the dollar is been bearish since October of 2022, right? So we've been bearish since 2022, consolidated through 2023 and 2024, kind of went bullish towards the end of 2024. And then going into 2025 is when we really went bearish, and we've broken structure here, right? So overall, I am bearish on the dollar for multiple reasons, not just technical analysis, not just what we see on the screen, but what also was going on with our economy, what's going on with the world, and just the direction that the world is headed and everything is headed. I'm long term bearish on the dollar, even if we see some short term bullishness. All right, so I just wanted to establish that I am bearish on the dollar long term. Now let's go ahead and drop down to the daily. We've been bullish since January of this year. It's really been bullish, and I believe that this is just a pullback for it to go lower, and I believe it wants to take some highs before it goes. Before I see it continuing completely down, like below this low, I see it coming and taking these highs first. All right. So I have my eyes set on these highs. I believe we looked at this last week as well. So we're still set on those highs. I still see price acting as a magnet and, liquidity resting above here. So never want to forget, where we are as far as higher time frame and long term, right? Because we've been looking at that for a couple weeks now. Very restful. All right. Bless Shabbat. Hallelujah, Darius. Cool, John. I'm glad to hear everybody had a restful and peaceful weekend. Joe, I will look at US 30, S&P, and gold. All right. Yeah, if we have time, I will get to that. I definitely want to look at gold for sure. All right. So here's what's going on with the dollar currently, what I believe. We have a mitigation zone right here, and price is currently in that mitigation zone. Not only are we in a mitigation zone, but we're back in an ascending channel that I caught back in February, right? So I started seeing this channel forming around February, and I kind of just been following it because when channels start to form, a lot of times price plays off, of the channel, and it becomes significant later on down the line. So we're in this channel. We're also in a mitigation zone, and I want to mark up this imbalance that I see right here. Right. So that candle right there, that's a lot of imbalance where we had an impulse move where we had our low, right? Our high, we had our higher low, somewhat of a higher high. It didn't poke too much above it, but it kind of poked up and then it consolidated and then boom, expansion. All right. And when this expansion happened, we created some imbalance here. And so I'm looking at this as a target, as an area to be filled. So I want to notate that. We're going to mark that up as imbalance. Anytime you see dark blue on my screen, that indicates imbalance. All right, let's drop down to a lower time frame. Now, not only do we have imbalance down here, we have consolidation. Once we made this expansion, this move up, this rally, which started on March the 2nd, it shot up and it's pretty much been consolidating. All right. This was a pullback and then it rallied again and then it kind of played around. Then it came back down. Then it shot up again. This has officially become consolidation. So I could go ahead and box this up. And now we've come full circle to what I said in the update, which is stay out of range, stay out of the range, right? So what that means for me is because the dollar has shown me that it's obviously in a range right now. Hold on, let me get these colors right, y'all. Visibility, okay. And let's put this to the back so I can see the candles. All right. Now that the dollar has shown me that it's in a range, I do not know which direction that the euro wants to go. I don't know which direction the pound wants to go because the dollar is undecided. Everything is based off the dollar because that's what those currencies are paired against. And so we treat consolidation like consolidation. If it comes to the top of the range, we would expect it to fall. When it comes to the bottom of the range, we would expect it to rise. Now, I'm not looking for anything long term, but I would like to see the dollar break out of this channel, break out of this consolidation, break out of this mitigation zone, right? Which is all confluence, right? And if we break out, if I see this happen, I'll be looking to buy the euro. I'll be looking to buy the euro. Why? Because I would be expecting this. I would be expecting a feel of this imbalance. Same thing with the pound. I would be looking to buy the pound because temporarily I see the dollar going bearish before it goes bullish again to come for these highs. I don't think this bullish run is over, but we consolidating right now, and I would like to see a strong pullback here. All right, so that's what's going on with the dollar. That's what I would like to see. If this doesn't happen, I may not even trade this week. Like I'm making a commitment because I don't want to mess around in this consolidation, especially with the current status and just the temperature, the climate, the economic climate right now. Everything is unsure, uncertainty. So I either need to see the dollar drop down or I need to see it come all the way up and I need to see it break out of this consolidation. Right. So that's what I'm looking for the dollar. And that's going to determine if I take any trades on EU. Now, last week, this is where we left off, right? This is still the same markup. So I added some things, but last week, this is where we were. We had the direction right, but price didn't come back up. It was very, very bearish, didn't give us a chance to enter, and it really just sold off. Now we've come down, we had this fake bounce here, and this is an indication that we're going to be bullish. And the reason why is because this was liquidity here, and this was a fake rally. This was a fake reversal. This is where you get people, or not you, but this is where the big players get people, right? They bait a lot of buyers, suck a lot of buyers in because people think it's reversing, and then boom, we go down even lower, knock them out too, and then we go in the intended direction, right? So I really like to see this, and if things line up with the dollar, if we get a break out of this consolidation, and then the euro breaks back up above this level here, and we come up into this sell zone, which is, I believe, is going to be a reaction sell, then we'll be in for business for a nice high probable trade, a nice high probable buy. So right now, I don't have anything except reaction zones, right? I'm not looking to buy from where it's at right now because I'm just not sure if it's going to, I don't feel good about the direction. This zone right here is a reaction sell zone. So when price comes here, I'm expecting a reaction. Not expecting it to continue down, but I do believe there's going to be a sell opportunity there. And mind you, this is on the 4-hour. So you will want to see structure form on the 15-minute. If it comes up in this area and you want to take this sale, take a chance on the sale, look for some structure, a little structure to form on the 15-minute. If we reach up into these sell zones that we marked up last week, I'm still taking these sales. These sell zones are still valid to me. I still believe we can get a nice amount of pips out of these sales, especially if we feel that sell zone imbalance where the market opened here, dropped, and it never came back up to fill. And as we know, they like to, fill those imbalances. So, and oftentimes those are reaction zones. So I would like to take sales from here. If EU comes all the way up here, I'll be taking these sell zones. They're still valid. Reaction, that's just there just for, observing. But if we break above here, stay above, I see structure. I'll take a quick buy and then I'll be looking for these sales. All right, let me check the chat. Make sure that anybody got any questions on EU, anything that you've seen, any questions that you have, why I analyze something a certain way. I don't mind teaching on this call. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. All right, moving on to GU. Same thing, right? Because GU is paired with the dollar, or the pound is paired with the dollar. So waiting on the dollar to break out of that consolidation. And I would be looking for a buy on GU. Now I do like this right here. I do like that GU from a higher time frame. Y'all see that? Multiple head and shoulders, but I do like from higher time frame that GU is starting to form a bullish head and shoulders. That's a big head and shoulders right there. And so we kind of got some confluence, some confirmation there. If we can get a break of structure on the dollar to the downside, I feel good about harvesting some pips for a buy on GU. But same thing here. There's really nothing for me to look at personally until I see the dollar start to break out. If I see the dollar break out to the downside, I'll then come back to GU and look at the structure, see what it looks like, and decide where to enter. Now, as we're looking at GU and EU, we also have to look at euro versus the pound, right? Because this is going to tell us which one is actually strong and which one is weak. So because the euro is the base, right, and pound is the quote, that means that whatever the first currency is, whatever direction we see on the screen, that's what represents that currency. So the euro is currently weak, right? We see the euro falling against the pound, is weak against the pound, which means the pound is strong. And so if we have weakness on the euro, if we have weakness on the dollar, then we're looking at higher probable buys on the pound. We're looking at getting more movement and more pips out of the pound, because not only do we have weakness from the euro, which is going to push the pound up, we got weakness from the dollar, which is really going to push the pound up and give it true strength. You'll see euro move up as well, but the pound would move more. Now, if we start to see the euro start to rise, that means that it's getting strong against the pound and the pound is getting weak. And if we see the dollar drop, still may be some strength on the pound, but we better off taking buys on euro. Does that make sense to everybody? Drop a 2 in the chat if what I just said makes sense and you understand why euro GBP is an indicator pair when trading the pound versus the dollar and the euro versus the dollar. Drop a 2 in the chat if that makes sense. If it doesn't, I'll try to explain it better. 2. Good. Okay, I'm glad that y'all getting it. Good. Hallelujah. So let's go ahead and look at gold for Joel. Gold is one of my economic indicators. So I have bonds on here. Just want to throw this out there for everybody. I have gold on here. I have the dollar. I have bonds, 10-year bonds, because bonds also determine the direction of the dollar. That's a real indicator. And then I got the SPX 500, which is, of course, measuring America's economy, the businesses, right? The top 500 businesses. Then we got US 30, gold, and silver. So Joe wanted to look at gold. Let's see what's going on with gold. Let me clear this because I like to mark up clean charts. All right, so we know that the fundamentally and sentimentally, I'm gonna say sentimentally, gold should be bullish long term. We had a very nice pullback right here, and we kind of just been, consolidating up. But overall, we're bullish on gold. Now we did have a strong pullback here, and I see this is kind of like consolidation to me. We got somewhat of a head and shoulders going on, and this is a bearish head and shoulders. Within, right, we have a low or a lower high right here, a lower high along with head and shoulders, along with some liquidity resting below. So let me mark this up because this looks like weakness. This looks like temporary weakness to me. Let's mark that up, and then it looks like it's also a channel going on. So I want to mark up the channel. This price likes to play off of channels. All right, so that's a all right. There we go. So we coming off the bottom of the channel, and we've been hanging out at the bottom of the channel here. That's kind of like the first time that you've seen that. We hung out at the top of the channel here, but we've been kind of going sideways here, and we going sideways into the bottom of the channel with liquidity resting below. And we know what is consolidation. From a different point of view, if you're somebody who's moving the markets, if you're the person that's really if you're you have a lot of money, you have the ability to paint pictures in the market. When you consolidate, you collect orders on both sides. That's all consolidation is. And you look at it from that point of view, that they're collecting orders. So we have people who are looking for it to sell, and we have people that are looking for it to buy, and we have liquidity on both sides of the market. And so I wouldn't be surprised if we had a poke up and then a move down. But what I would be looking for is a break below and then a retest, because I think they have some more liquidity to take out before they go up. Because gold, we haven't seen anything with gold. Like, I know what we've seen was crazy, but I believe it's going to continue to go parabolic. But before it goes parabolic, it's going to knock as many people out, or they're going to knock as many people out as they can, because they don't want to bring everybody with them, right? Because the house wants to win. So I wouldn't trade this, even though it's at the bottom of the channel. I wouldn't trade this. I don't like this. I want to see a sweep. I would like to see a sweep and then a move down, or I would like to see a sweep of these lows and then a move up. And then that's what I would consider my support. And that's where I'll start looking for buys. That's where I'll start looking for structure to form and looking for continuations beyond this high here. Right. So that's where I'm at with gold. It's a simple analysis, and then also taking the dollar into consideration, because this is XAU versus USD. This is not just gold by itself. This is gold versus the dollar, right? So if the dollar is weakening, we should see gold strengthening. And if we see the dollar start to weaken, we're going to see gold go up. But remember, let's go back to the dollar. I never said that I believe that the dollar is going to continue bearish, even though overall it is bearish. I believe it's going to come down here to go higher, because remember, we still have these highs. And what would that mean for gold? In my mind, that would mean that gold more than likely is going to go lower. And so any move up, I would expect it to be a sweep. See how that worked? Any move up, if we come up here and we touch the top of this channel, I would expect a sell from that point. I trust a sell from the channel more than I trust a buy from this channel, because of what I see on DXY. That makes sense. And so, yeah, that's what I see for gold. Simple. Not messing with it right now. It's consolidating. I would like to see a sweep and then a drop, or a drop and then a move up. And then I will start to look for structure. So Darius said it's a new aspect, but it makes sense. Good. Hallelujah. Makes sense. I'm glad to hear that the concept makes sense. That's good because it's definitely a tool. It's a tool that you can use using those pairs as indicators. Oh man, US 30. Since the last time I looked at it, it broke. Okay, it broke out of this consolidation. That's a pretty strong drop. But usually when I see a drop like this on US 30, even with the uncertainty in the market right now, if anything, I see a pullback coming back up to this zone right here, to the bottom of this. See the support here? And we got some imbalance to fill here. We cleared some lows. All right, we were bouncing on the trend here. A lot of people buying the trend. Let me just visually show this to y'all, because this is how I look at the markets. All right, and so all down here, liquidity, and market dropped, very sharp drop, took some liquidity, came down into a significant area. So here's our demand zone. Top of this candle. There we go. And so from the daily, I see bullishness on US 30. I see buying opportunities. Let's drop down to the lower time frame and see. All right, we had a market open gap. We filled that gap. I like this area right here for support or a possible retracement down into. See that? We got a intermediate high here. Got this high to clear, this high to clear. But to me, this is the next stop. This is the next destination, this line here. I'm not saying that US 30 is going to continue up. I never know what the market is going to do. That's why I look at it in levels. But I do believe from what I'm seeing, from the momentum, and from what just happened with the liquidity sweep of that trend line, I see price continuing up at least to this level here. And I see buying opportunities in a pullback within this imbalance. So let's drop down lower, see more structure. Yeah. And then boom here, I like this. I like this area. So I'm going here. I'm saying stop loss here, below the low. Buy zone here. And let's see what kind of setup this is. All right. Big boy setup. So it's about a 1-to-2. That's a 1-to-2 ratio there. It's a 1-to-2 trade. 1-to-2 ratio trade. We got 1,200 pips just to round up. 1,200 pips for the take profit, and let's just say 600 pips for the stop loss. I'm gonna drop down to the 15-minute. Yeah, I think some more of this Some more of this imbalance is going to get filled right here before they continue up. And let's drop down to the 5 minute and see what's going on. See, we got a head and shoulders pattern forming. It'd be nice if they form a head and shoulders pattern. If they form a head and shoulders pattern here on the 5 minute, and then let me show you. They do something like that, and then you see this. This is the discounted move. This is the discounted price. This is where I believe you will be able to get in at a good price, and it would continue from that point. I would rather see that happen than the head and shoulders just continue up. I like to see the fake outs first. Even if they do this, I like the way that looks versus trying to buy the retest or the neck. All right, so that's what I got for US 30. But we coming up on, it's 9:40. It's about to be 10 o'clock. I told you guys I wanted to get into the word a little bit. I just wanted to share something with you guys, that's relevant to the time that we're in now. I'll stop sharing this. Let me check the messages real quick. Sir, thank you for that value. If you have time, can you look at CAD, JPY? So I'm just now seeing this, Darius. My bad, man. I think we're about to kind of wrap up the call now. So like I said, I wanted to get into some word a little bit and just kind of remind you guys. I know whether you believe in Yah, or not, this is still practical knowledge that you can apply to your life. So we understand it, and we all know it's no secret what's going on in the world right now, right? We know what's going on. We know what's going on, and if you in the word, you understand prophecy. Well, we don't know the day or the hour, right? We don't know the hour. But we do know that there's some things going on in the world, and the important thing to know is that this is a spiritual warfare. This is spiritual warfare that's going on. Too often I see people in the walk and people who go to church or whatever it is, that people who believe in Yah, people who believe in God and believe in Jesus Christ, they're into politics. Now, I'm not gonna knock you for being into politics, but what I'm saying is that you have to then question where you're putting your faith in, because the word explains to us and tells us who's in control, right? All throughout the Bible, we understand who's in control. All throughout the Bible, we know who sets up kings, and we know who takes kings out of commission. We know who put them in power and take them out of power. And so if there's a plan, why stress yourself out and get caught up in the politics as far as hating somebody or disliking somebody for doing something or disliking somebody for their views? I'm not supporting anything that's going on in the political world right now on either side. What I'm saying is we have to remember Ephesians, right? In Ephesians, when Apostle Paul was addressing the church of Ephesus, he says something very profound and something that we should carry with us, and that is that we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against the powers that be, right? And so when you look at Trump, when you look at Zhang, when you look at all these world leaders, you have to understand that there are spiritual strings being pulled, whether they believe it or not, whether they know or not, whether they understand or not, and whether you believe or understand or not, depending on what side that you yield to when it comes to darkness and light, whatever side you yield to, that is the side whose will gets done through you. But it's all Yah's will. No matter if you decide to go against Yah or not, prophecy is going to be fulfilled, right? But these people are yielding, right, to the to evil. It's no secret. It's no secret that these people are into rituals. They're into drinking blood. They're into cannibalism, right? And so all these evil things we know come from a demonic space. And so you have to understand that when you see these leaders, when you see these politicians and these people, and they're doing these things, these evil things, and you just don't understand and you get frustrated, I encourage you to get into the word. I encourage you to pray. I encourage you to ask God to reinforce your faith, reinforce your understanding, and ask for guidance, right? And direction. So it's very easy to become fearful. Me as a father myself, me as a husband, having a family during this time, it's very possible that war could touch our soil. But with that, we have to have faith. I found myself panicking. A couple weeks ago, I found myself panicking. And I thank Yah for putting his hand on me and reminding me, right? Being in the word and reminding me who's in control and how to operate. See, when you panic, you do things like you go to Walmart and you buy up a whole bunch of toilet paper, which psychologically makes no sense in a time of emergency. But you panic buy, you go get a lot of things. You try to stockpile food all in one day. You try to get everything that you need. People panic, and there's nothing wrong with preparing, but there is something wrong with panicking. So we have to use what's called spiritual discernment. We have to use discernment and wisdom. And this is what wisdom and spiritual discernment look like. Not going and trying to buy up everything at once, but when you go to the store, grab an extra couple cans of beans. Every time you go to the store, you might go to the grocery store, or the wife might go to the grocery store a few times a week. When she goes to the grocery store, hey, babe, when you go to the grocery store, grab a pound of rice. Grab a pound of rice and some beans. Grab some, right? So you're gradually building up your food pantry, throwing some nuggets out there for y'all. No need to panic, but I'm not saying don't prepare, right? We got to do some groundwork along with the faith. We have to do some groundwork. When it comes to weapons, I understand that people have things against guns, but understand that our forefathers were warriors. The modern day gun is a sword. The modern day gun is Daniel's sling. These men didn't walk around without protection. They had faith in Daniel. You know the type of faith you have to have in Yah to go up against a giant with no armor and just a sling, right? But he had a sling. They had swords. They had shields, because there is still some work to be done on our part while still having good faith, right? So when it comes to weapons, I'm not saying, go out and buy AR-15s and shot and guns and things. I mean, even if you grab if you don't have the money to grab a gun, even a machete at Walmart you get a nice machete for $14. You get a Louisville Slugger, you know what I'm saying, for $30. I'm not saying don't protect yourselves. I'm not saying, especially to the men, I'm never gonna say I'm a warrior. I'm a warrior at heart, and Yah made me a warrior. And so I believe that it is our right to protect ourselves and to be prepared, but to not be fearful. Be prepared and be ready, but not moved in haste. Another thing I want to speak about is trying to run from where we are, trying to escape the belly of the beast. It's also in the word. There's no escaping this. You're going to face persecution wherever you go in the world. Trust me. I can tell you from experience. There is no escaping this. And another thing that you can't escape, when you pack up your things and you go back to the motherland or wherever you want to go, guess what's in that suitcase? Your lack of faith. You took your lack of faith with you, because your lack of faith is the reason why you're trying to hurry up and get out, right? So what I'm suggesting to everybody is staying steadfast in the word. That's the only way. With all the distractions that we have in the world, it's very easy to get lost in the world and to forget We can have the knowledge and we can know, but if we're not applying it on the daily, it's very easy to get lost and caught up in what's going on today. And then we have to also pray for each other. I encourage you to find your tribe. Encourage you to find your tribe, and you pray for your family, you pray for your tribe, and you ask them to pray for you. All right. And with that said, like I said, I wanted to share something with y'all. And in the book of Timothy, I'm gonna share this real quick and then we're gonna end this call. Give me a quick second. Okay. All right, here we go. So this is a Second Timothy, and I want to start with verse 7, and we're gonna read 7 through 10. And in Timothy, this is when Paul was in bondage, and he was writing to his son Timothy. And it says here, chapter 1, verse 7, for God have not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of sound mind. Right? So when I say fear is not an emotion, it's very important to understand that fear is a spirit. And not only is it a spirit, it's a spirit that Yah did not give us. Fear does not belong in us. And if fear is in you and you feeling fear, which we all feel it. I'm guilty. Everybody is guilty of feeling fear. All that is a barometer or a gauge of where your faith is in Yah. And so it's just a reminder to me that I need to continue being in the word. I need to continue fasting. I need to continue praying. I need to continue getting closer to Yah and building my faith so that there is no room for fear. Because all lack of faith or all fear is a lack of faith in Yah or forgetting who's in control. Right. So the amount of fear that you feel is a measurement of the amount of faith that you have in Yah. And that's what I truly believe. All right. And next it says, reading on, be not thou therefore ashamed of the testimony of our Lord, nor of me his prisoner, but be thou partakers of the affliction of the gospel according to the power of God. So this is important because it says, be thou partakers. Do you know what it means to partake? A partaker, let's read the definition. A partaker is a person who consumes or indulges in something. A person who joins in an activity or action. A person that is characterized by a quality. So to be a partaker, you have to actually go towards what it is that you're partaking in. Right? It doesn't mean that you're just there, you just existing. What the word is saying is be a partaker in the afflictions. And we know what afflictions are, right? Affliction is pain and suffering. And so it's saying, understand that when you come into this walk, when you have a relationship with Yah, it's not about to be roses and unicorns. We all are due our portion of suffering, of Yeshua's cup, right? He suffered. Who are we not to suffer? So expect suffering at some point or at different parts. Everybody's life is different, but do not expect not to be a believer in Yah and not to face and you're not going to face persecution, that you're not going to face some type of suffering, right? Because now you're psychologically, you're tricking yourself into thinking things are supposed to be a certain way. And then when you come into suffering, this is where a lot of people now they start to curse God. They start to curse Yah and ask, where are you? Why are you allowing these things to happen to me? Right? So we have to check the posture of our heart and understand that we're not coming to the kingdom to be thieves. We're coming to the kingdom to add, to be vessels, right? And to partake in the afflictions of the gospel according to the power of God. And then it goes on to say, who have saved us and called us with a holy calling, not according to our works, but according to his own purpose and grace, which was given us in Christ Jesus before the world began, but now is made manifest by the appearing of our Savior, Yeshua HaMashiach, who have abolished death and have brought life and immortality to light through the gospel. I'm going to read that again. But is now made manifest by the appearing of our Savior, Jesus Christ, Yeshua HaMashiach, who have abolished death and have brought life and immortality to light through the gospel. So what this is telling me, everything together, he's saying, don't fear, don't have the spirit of fear, because there is a promise and there is no more death. Yeshua has went through what he needed to go through in his perfect life and sacrifice his life for us so that we may live after this life. So no matter what it is that we go through, we may have a portion of suffering, right, to partake in. We may have a cross to bear of our own, but we know once it's time to cross that finish line, if we've done the best that we can, if we've served the best, we've served our Creator the best that we can, that we've done the best that we can to make sure that we're doing his will, that in the end our prize and our reward is gratified. It comes in the end. And so have faith now in understanding that no matter what we face in this life, no matter what it is, don't fear him that can kill the flesh, that can kill the body, but only fear him that can kill the body and the soul. Right. And I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm gonna leave it at that, y'all. I appreciate everybody coming on the call. Let's see. Yeah, I appreciate all of y'all. I appreciate everybody coming to the call. I hope everybody got value. Remember, becoming a master trader isn't about mastering the markets as much as it is about mastering yourself. And remember, discipline before profits and faith over everything. Love y'all. Y'all have a blessed and restful night. And I will see y'all in the chats and some of y'all next week. Peace.